It is what I call the speed to evolve that has become an important concept. And this is about agility and adaptability. There will be critical nodes in the global supply chain or the global production chain. And if we can entrench ourselves in those critical nodes, then regardless of which industry, we should try to look for those critical nodes so that we cannot be easily displaced.
I think you've seen many companies being able to take advantage of opportunities. So even in the classical, traditional industries of wholesale trade, for example, being able to move faster, to look for alternate supplies, to be able to seek out new markets. In the process of their digitalization and switching to e-commerce, they became more relevant, and that in itself is green shoots.
I think the crisis have made it even more important for our companies to go beyond Singapore. We can use the cyber domain to reach out to markets, and I think many of the companies, big and small, particularly some of the small SMEs, they have been able to do this and to penetrate new markets. Banks in Singapore and financial institutions also use their overseas network to help Singapore companies to penetrate those networks. So if you look at whether it's OCBC or other banks in Singapore, they do have a regional presence, and that is where we can leverage on each other's network.
Young and small businesses, some of the emerging enterprises that we've worked with, they have really started out with a different way of thinking altogether from the get-go. They start with a global mindset. They have an ambition to make something globally, and so therefore their frame of reference is very different from a traditional company transitioning. So they start with the view that they need to have a scalable model, a model that is able to help them grow globally.
Is cost still very much, in their minds, or they're looking beyond that and looking at how to change the business?
In the past, I think we are very concerned with efficiency, the ROI, the returns and so forth. But in my recent conversations with even manufacturing firms and professional services firms, it is what I call the speed to evolve that has become an important concept. And this is about agility and adaptability. On the company side, I think, as Linus mentioned, I think the mindset also has to change. The competition is not static, the competition is dynamic and is constantly asking ourselves, how can we come up with new products and services as fast or if not faster than the other person. And this is where the speed to market comes in. Besides the speed to evolve, is the speed to market that's very important. I think one of the challenges is how do you have trusted and verifiable standards, because everybody claims that they want their financing to be green, but you really need an audit trail to be able to provide that assurance to people on what they are paying for. And therein lies the advantage to trusted jurisdiction like Singapore.
Many of the small players are themselves the catalysts, the change agents, the enablers of these new capabilities, whether it's in alternate energy or efficiency or wastewater treatment and things like that. So they feel more empowered when you have an all-of-government effort, a whole country effort, plus the enabling finance to move them along. There's nothing better than opening up a new way of doing business that is also fit for the longer term, fit for sustainability, but also good for today's business. And so I think it is in the context of that we put together at the end of last year a framework to enable us to offer sustainable finance to SMEs. Because while the awareness and the interest is there, I think we felt that as financial institutions, we need to play the part in helping to make that step, that move much easier.
With or without the pandemic, there's always a certain churn. The question is, how do we help the churn to be much more efficient, in the sense that if people really need to pivot out of a sector, they can quickly pivot out of the sector and not lose time and not waste resources. And more importantly, then how do we help them to get into the new sectors?
Well, we've had a strong focus on serial entrepreneurs. And one of the big takeaways we have from them is the mantra they always have is that businesses come and go, but not the entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs stay and they learn and they adapt and they set up new businesses. Even in this short cycle, we have already seen some who have just moved off and morphed into something different. In some ways, they've become more adept at saying the economics of that model doesn't work, so let's put it down and go into something else. So I think if that can be supported and encouraged. I mean, we always say we want to learn from our failures. I mean, in this way, it's a good way to kind of propel that positive energy forward.